It's official. Indiana Jones is a massive success, at least in the eyes of the people that truly matter. That's right. Indiana Jones was such a success that Disney has already gone ahead, picked up the phone, and said, it's time. We want another one. Let's go ahead and read the article real quick from Games Radar. Says Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was successful enough that Disney reportedly picked up the phone and wants more. It was only weeks after that they expressed interest in the idea. Here it is right here. Comes courtesy of Windows Central journalist leaker Jess Corden, who said he's heard that Disney picked up the phone and wants more Indiana Jones. Just earlier this month, Lucasfilm Games Vice President and General Manager Douglas Riley spoke about the possibility of more whip-crapping adaptations too. While nothing's officially in development, Riley said the teams are always looking for great stories. And the good news is there's a lot of space in between the films where we could tell more and more Indiana Jones stories that I think would be super interesting. Now, they say we don't have any official numbers, but for how well Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is doing now, but Circana Matt Piscatelli revealed that it was the second best-selling game in its first full release week in North America, trailing only Call of Duty Black Ops 6, despite being available on Xbox Game Pass at launch. Listen, we knew that Indiana Jones was going to be good. We did not know how good it was going to be.
Yes.
Right? Like I did not go into Indiana Jones expecting it to be my favorite game of the year. I thought it was going to be a great game. Hellblade 2 for me was my favorite experience in gaming and probably since the last Halo. And coming into the end of the year, playing Indiana Jones, reviewing that game, I did not think that I would leave that experience saying to myself, yeah, that's my game of the year. I didn't. I thought Hellblade 2 just had it locked for me. But no, it did. It came out. It was my game of the year. Fantastic experience. They did something that, hasn't been done since, I would say, and I can't even put it at this level, but I would say with a licensed experience, like a licensed game, staying true to what it is. I mean, this is in the Batman league and the Spider-Man league of being a representation of the IP. And for me, just the total package of this is better. For me, I think they just nailed every aspect of it. Loved it. And it's great to see that this wasn't just a, hey, it's a great game. We'll see what happens, what it does in sales. I mean, again, being number 2, the launch week that it came out, only second to another Xbox IP, which is Call of Duty, right?
Such a big IP, right?
Huge. It's huge.
It's Call of Duty we're talking about.
Yep.
So it's such a big deal for sure.
And we did see, they did talk like the people who made Indiana Jones Machine Games did go on record saying that they were interested. They would love to do another Indiana Jones. We just heard that, from back then as well, that Lucasfilm said that they were, would like to do more. And, the fact that they didn't just say, we want to do more, so let's see who else wants to make the game. And instead, they said, we want to do more. Let's see if Machine Games or let's see if Xbox is willing to do another one. I mean, this is all great news. I mean, babe, you played Indiana Jones. I mean, what do you think about this? The fact that it's already very possible that they're going to be making another one.
I'm sure they will. Listen, the work speaks for itself. The game is phenomenal. Yes, I thought we saw it and it's like, okay, this is going to be amazing. And then you play the game and it's just a whole other level, right? The freaking attention to details. It just kind of takes you into that world. It makes you just want to continue to explore and be indie throughout. Like it's an amazing game. So this is, I saw this coming. This is what happens when you put out good work, and they have Disney reaching out to them, which is essentially what you want to happen in a situation like this, rather than, hey, we enjoy making the game, we wish we could make more. We have the tables did turn. I knew that it wasn't just going to be the game. This was going to bring a lot of attention to the IP and kind of refresh everything. I can only imagine how much attention it brought to the movies. So after being in the situation that they've been in, I can only imagine with Spider-Man and that relationship that they have with Sony, this should be very refreshing. Again, they did treat the IP with a lot of respect. They delivered an amazing game, amazing story. It's deserved that they're getting that call for more.
I mean, just the fact that it's literally it felt like a movie.
It did.
Like it felt like it was.
You can literally take the cutscenes and kind of put that out there for people to watch. It is that good.
Agreed.
And it's very difficult to encapsulate something like that. Like when you make a game based off a license, the tricky thing is making it seem like the license. Do you know what I mean? That's the hard thing. And with Indiana Jones, they encapsulated the spirit of Indiana Jones perfectly. Like, it was fans making that game. That everyone involved knows about Indiana Jones. This wasn't just like the studio who didn't know anything about it. You know damn well the people involved know about Indiana Jones. And that's for anyone playing it becomes obvious pretty quick. And that's why it's now had this resurgence it's had, because Indiana Jones fans have finally got some, because the last few movies didn't hit. So this hits in a way that Indiana Jones hasn't been hitting for a while, and it brings people back to the Indiana Jones of old. It recaptures that lightning in a bottle that Indiana Jones had when it started, and that often doesn't happen so far down the line. Do you know what I mean? Like Indiana Jones could have easily have just gone away, never come back again. But they did an absolutely phenomenal job.
They did. They nailed it.
It's funny because you look at a known IP and you're like, okay, well, eyes will be on it because it's so known, right? But you take such a big risk that if you don't go ahead and do right by the IP and still make it original enough, like it's such a balance that they were able to go ahead and deliver. It's a big deal what they did. And again, they said that they have a lot more that they want, a lot more stories that they can go ahead and deliver. So this is very exciting. I know right away the question was, will there be more, right? We had a discussion about this and it's like, well, they have to want to do more, right? Because if this was just what they wanted to tell, and because the game is selling well, you want to go ahead and say, okay, well, let's capitalize on that. Boom, let's figure out how we can push another one out. That's not the way to go about things. But obviously they are passionate about it. They have a lot more that they want to go ahead and do. So this just is an organic relationship that should move forward. Again, we also discussed Game Pass and how tricky that may be, putting the game in there. Obviously on its own is sold enough, and it was very popular in Game Pass. So we're having a good response, and we were talking about how tricky it may be with those numbers, having the game in there. So obviously that is not an issue that they're concerned with when it comes to how do we take a percentage of what is being used in Game Pass? Like, how do we define that? Obviously, that's something that's a non-issue for them.
Agreed.
The fact that this game was made by that team and the passion that they had behind it, right? We've discussed this before. I think that it has to be done with, you think of this and you think of like Disney and PlayStation, right? They're both have the same goal of like, let's keep making more and giving them more so that they can give us more. I think this would be a control situation. So I feel like this would be a way to kind of move forward. I don't think that, Xbox in any way is going to say, okay, well, this is just now what we do. We're just pumping these out, whether we want to or not. So I think that there's more of a respect there where one is not the other. So I think we're going to go ahead and continue to get quality from them because of that. It's just Disney has a way about them for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I think that I think that Xbox will be that filter, because I think it's just
Absolutely.
going to be about, what the team wants to do. And, Xbox's new, quality bar that they've set for themselves and their studios, they're not about just pumping stuff out.
Yeah,
They
the
want their teams
reputation.
to know, like, to make something they want to make. So obviously we know in this case they are up for another indie. How many more, we don't know. Also, how long is this one going to take to even come out?
Absolutely.
And does Disney want to risk just whoring out the indie license to everyone out there when, there's only so many people who are going to sound like indie and do it well? And right now, Troy Baker's that dude, and he
I
killed
think it
it.
would be a very difficult undertaking for any other developer to try and take on the indie license now. It's not as easy as Disney saying, well, everyone do it. Free reign on everyone, just make a game, because the bar's so high now that who wants to compete with it? You know what I'm saying? Because if someone else makes an indie game, it pales in comparison to this one, it's just not going to see the light of day, because people expect this quality now. And once that bar and that standard is set, you can't just diminish it by letting anyone and everyone try and make. No one's going to want to take it on, because it just has. It's such a risky job, because of this game now has set a standard. You have to at least match it.
I think Disney needs to be careful with that, because it's easy to get caught up and like, okay, well, you don't want to make them. I'll go here where they can go ahead and do it. And then here you go. It can do more damage than good to go ahead and mess around with that. But you brought up something so important, CMoney. How long is going to take them to deliver that second game, right? This is work that's going to go into it, and they have to focus on, and it's going to take years to see this game. And there's already like talks about a DLC, right? We're expecting a DLC for Indiana Jones. And so, this is going to take time. You talked about Trey. You know how difficult it would be. This guy just captured freaking Harrison Ford. Like, it was ridiculous. Troy Baker did a phenomenal job. And it's like, okay, we're talking about years and years going by. And so who knows who has to retire in X amount of time, what happens, and what changes, right? So I think this is a situation of like game by game. Think of a trilogy, and then from there, you kind of see how you want to move forward.
I genuinely thought it was Harrison Ford, bro, when I was...
Right?
I didn't even realize it was Troy Baker until like yesterday. I thought playing it was Harrison Ford. I thought they've done a great job in making him sound younger. Like, fantastic job. Like, I could, but that's insane that was actually Troy.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, when Harrison Ford came out, it was such an epic moment during the awards, right? But it's also very, like, when he went ahead and spoke, it's like, okay, there's no way that he could have done that, right?
He sounds like he's already buried.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He sounds like he's talking from underground. You know what I'm saying?
Like, listen, I even think even if they had the tech to kind of like refresh the voice, right, which they can do, I think like it's really far gone from the days when he played this character that Troy Baker did. He was needed, right? And I didn't think that anyone can pull that, because it wasn't just the voice, it was the tone, that like it was just a whole package where you kind of felt that, arrogance and that witty that he has with it. It was delivered perfectly. So yeah, that playfulness came through everything with the voice, with the delivery of the lines. It was pretty amazing.
I thought about the first three movies. We watched them not too long ago with the kids, and they were really good, right? They hold up really, really well, right? And then you think about like the last three movies or whatever that they did that have, some people like them, but overall, like, the general consensus is that they're not great, movies. But I think about like the time between looking at the ones that we watched and then what the new ones are, and then like the experience we had playing indie and being indie and just like living that life and exploring and doing all the shit that he did in that game and the fighting and everything. It's just so well done, and it's so like captivating. Like, I just kept wanting to play it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never felt like, oh my God, all right, I gotta get through this. I gotta hurry up. I want to be done. I'm like, all right, then why is this part here? Like, none of that. There was no fat. right? Like they cut the fat. They just left you with what you would want to experience, and they give you the ability to play as much or as little as you want, right? They have so much content in there if you want it. If you don't want it, you have a main storyline that you could finish faster that is just as good as the best indie movie out there, right? Like it's really, really that good. And it does make you question, like, what, like, do I need another movie from them when, like, obviously Harrison Ford is done, right? Like, he's like, let's stop. We don't need to replace him with somebody else. Like,
Really.
No, I mean, you have to come up with, they tried bringing up that other kid in there. It's like, you can't, there's just a certain thing. It's never going to be the same. Like, there's only him. So, like, let's fill in that timeline with the games. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Disney have no writers, man. No one at Disney knows how to write a movie. This is a problem. Like, they're clueless. So you might as well just let the story be done in video games, because Disney movies, man, it's like they're written by ChatGPT. You know what I'm saying? They're terrible.
Right.
Look how they butchered Star Wars, man.
I do think that they may look at this as an opportunity to kind of just jump back in. Obviously, they will have to be kind of careful, but who knows? Maybe they'll come up with an indie show that they're going to have on Disney Plus. Like, you never know how they're looking to capitalize.
It's just who's going to play them.
Yes.
Like, that's the problem with it.
Money is they'll make one based on a really young Indiana Jones, so they can recast him. Because then it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Harrison Ford.
Or they can go ahead and bring in Harrison Ford in kind of like his grandson, right? Who's really young. And he's the one who's going to go ahead and kind of, explore and take over that. And that would be, you will just need him essentially for the beginning to kind of set the stage. It will be a freaking amazing
He can just tell stories.
Exact. Or that. It depends
he can sit
on how
there with
long
a book.
Of a
I wrote down my journal. These are all adventures that I said.
My chest, my treasure chest. Go explore and have fun, and it would be freaking amazing. It depends on how long he would want to sign on for. Again, when you're dealing with someone older, you obviously have
to sign on for.
You have your limitations.
How long you gonna live? Right? Let's call
exactly.
it that.
I'm trying to phrase it nicely.
He's up there.
Throw those vibes out there, but he is doing a show on Apple TV, right? Good. So we do know that he's open to doing these things. It just has to suit his age. So that would be pretty awesome.
Facts. Maybe Troy Baker. Maybe this is his moment.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Get in there and fulfill the role, suit up, as they say. Listen, this is all good news for us Xbox fans, for gamers. We know Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 5 next year, and they're going to be able to experience it, and maybe that will allow it to be in the running for Game of the Year. But obviously, what a year of gaming we're going to have. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough year for them now, because this is a big year for gaming for Xbox.
It's funny
sure.
that there were a lot of conversations, about how Indiana Jones was going to turn out, and how, them putting the game out in December. And so it's amazing to hear this, that, Disney's reaching out, and that the game is selling well, even though it's in Game Pass. So it's getting the attention it deserves. So with everything going into it and thinking, maybe it wouldn't at the end of the year, but I did feel it right away. Like, that was pretty genius. They should always go ahead and have something big like that for the month of December. It's always like a wash December, kind of like, oh, it is what it is. People are busy, but no, like, it's a perfect time when people take time off and are with their families and want to play, maybe something brand new and fresh. A big game like this, it's a big deal. So I'm glad they did that, and I hope they, just like the January Direct, that they continue on that path, right? This is our third one coming up this year. So this is something that they should continue for sure.
Yeah, I think it would be a waste not to. It's such a great game, such a great like video game IP now. I feel like it. Obviously, there's been Indiana Jones games and there's been some good ones back in the day, but nothing at this level. And now, this is a real AAA, indie. And yeah, there's no going back. You gotta give it to us. The question is, are they gonna is Machine Games they still have Wolfenstein, right? So we know that they were making part 3 before getting the license for Indiana Jones. So obviously they put that on hold to, make indie, right? But are they going to go do that first and then work on an indie? Are they going to go ahead and break up their studio and have some people work on indie and some people work on Wolfenstein? Are they going to start up a new studio, right? Are they going to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? Let's get another team going. Anybody who wants to work on, Wolfenstein, go lead those teams and let's build up over there. And then let's keep a indie studio. If they're successful, Indiana Jones is not I feel like it's not it's not like a superhero movie where there's always a, good guy, bad guy. And then whatever happens in the middle is just the filler, right? This can be you have genuine stories that you could tell, different adventures. We can have many of these games over a long amount of time, right? Again, this is not going to be something where we're in 2 years, we're going to get another indie, right? We're going to get the DLC maybe this, upcoming year. And then you're talking 3 years, 4 years minimum before we see another indie, if they are in fact going to work on one. So, having a new indie every generation or so, or every 1 or 2 indies in a generation wouldn't be that bad. I think there's a lot of experiences that you could do. I mean, this game, obviously, they didn't know if they were going to get another one, another opportunity to actually make another indie. So you could, they obviously did a lot of globe trotting, right? They gave you all the major points. You got your jungle, you got your desert, you got your, snow levels, right?
Yes, so they gave you everything.
Yes.
That was awesome.
So they did a lot on this one, but that doesn't mean that there's, a lack of new that they can do, right? There's always more. I mean, look at how many Tomb Raiders we have gotten over the years, right? There's plenty of stories to tell. So I'm very excited for the idea.
If anything, right? And you brought up all the different places, and when you start off and you have this idea and you have this story to tell, right? And you feel like, okay, this can be the only game that we're making that is an Indiana Jones game, right? You try to make sure that everything you want out there is out there, right? So you go ahead and kind of compact it more. When you were talking about a second game, it could be a lot more focused, and that allows you to kind of funnel into what you want to precisely put out there, knowing that now there's more possibility of, making a third game, and continuing. So it could be a bit more specific, right? Where you can get a little more intricate with specifics, rather than making sure that you show everything you needed to show and wanted to show and tell in compacted.
Agreed.